What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. And we haven't done one of these in a while. I kind of got lost in the offensive coordinator hunt. I kind of got distracted by the end of the season before then. So I haven't done a mock draft in a little while, but it's time to get back to these. May as well do one a week until we actually get into the really, really deep draft stuff. It's a good way to pass the time while we're waiting for free agency, waiting for decisions on some of these players. This video is powered by BetUS. And yeah, this is our fifth iteration of the mock draft. I try to do things a little bit differently and mix things up and basically try to get as creative as possible with these mocks every time. And I'm going to be open to a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to be as open-minded as I can with these mocks. So understand that I'm not necessarily working towards one preferred outcome so much as I am working towards a generalized understanding of all the paths that I think would be good. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start with the number one pick, which is 18th overall, first round pick. I hesitate with this one. This one is one of the ones that I kind of go with a little bit uncomfortably, right? Because I just don't know if he's really a first round caliber player, but this time we're going to go with Tyler Booker. I do think that he is clearly at least a top 50 player. I'm not 100% convinced that he's a top 32 player. And honestly, if I had to answer, I'd say he's probably not a top 20 player. But we have a desperate need. I do think he's good, and I do wonder if maybe circumstances at Alabama last year made him look a little bit worse than he actually is. So holding some reservations on this one. I'm still going to go ahead and do it. He's good. He'll probably be a day one starter in this circumstance, and I think he's up for it. I think he'll be a pretty good fit. Personally, I'm just going to say this now. I hope that over the next couple months, Donovan Jackson does well enough to where he moves up to the round one area, because my gut says that he's going to be better, but he needs to prove it in the testing. So either Donovan Jackson should move up to supplant Booker as the round one left guard you can get, or he should just stay, maybe even move down a little bit from where he is, so that way we could get him in the second round. Because I do like him, but I acknowledge that right now, based on the data I'm looking at, it would be a big reach to get Donovan Jackson in the first. All right, my second round pick, I'm going with a tight end, and this is a guy who's been bumping up boards lately, Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green. Really good playmaker, really fun with the ball in his hands. Very productive last year for Bowling Green. A lot to like with Harold Fannin Jr. Not a great blocker, but here's the thing. We already have our true tight end, our inline tight end with A.J. Barner. So what we need now is a dedicated playmaking tight end, and I think Fannin can be that. And I feel like having that playmaking tight end is going to be important in Kubiak's offense, so we can go two tight end a little bit more. So Harold Fannin Jr. is the second round pick. It's certainly a risk. He is a smaller school guy. He doesn't have the greatest measurables. He's a little undersized, but I think he is talented enough to be the guy. And before we go any further into this mock draft, I want to talk about my friends over at BetUS. And on top of their excellent sports book, BetUS has a casino that you can play at. All my followers, if you like slots, if you like blackjack, if you like having live casino dealers, go to BetUS, and after you use their sports book, definitely check out their casino as well. You can currently get a 200% sign up bonus up to $5,000, or 250% crypto sign up bonus up to $5,000. So get on over to BetUS. Remember, they've also got one of the best online sports books and casinos you're going to be able to find. They got both. Utilize both. Get to some online gambling. Check out BetUS. All right, back to the mock draft now. Round 3, I'm going with Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State. A little bit bigger, can play outside. would be a great way to mitigate the eventual, if not immediate, loss of Riq Woolen. Because if Riq Woolen is here in 2025, it'll probably be his last year. I don't think we're going to be able to afford him if he plays well, and if he doesn't play well, then we're not going to want to bring him back. We have to pay Witherspoon. So Denzel Burke provides a really good outside corner prospect to develop over the next year, while you're either getting one more year out of Woolen, or he's working his way into the starting lineup for 2025 if Woolen is gone. So Denzel Burke, third round pick there. With us losing Trey Brown as well, cornerback is actually becoming a little bit of an urgent need here. And I know that sounds a little bit, and I know some people are going to resist that a little bit, but if we're done with Woolen past this last year of his rookie deal and Trey Brown is gone, which I think is the case, even with Joby, it's not enough. All right, so moving on to round 4 here, the day 3, Ricky White is going to be my receiver pick. We need another receiver, but it doesn't have to be somebody who is going to be like some 1,000-yard receiver. We don't need the next Justin Jefferson. We don't need the next A.J. Brown. We just need a decent player who can give you maybe 500 yards on the season, because I don't think we're going to go a ton of receiver-heavy sets. What we need is a field stretcher, and we need a guy who can play on the outside, and I think Ricky White is both of those things from UNLV. He's considered to be one of the best downfield threats in the entire draft, and one of the guys in this draft that can play on the outside, on the boundary. He's not just a slot guy. In fact, Kubiak might look at somebody like a Ricky White and say, that could be what I had with Rashid Shaheed in New Orleans. Now, he didn't have Shaheed very much in New Orleans because he got injured, but the idea is you want to get that deadly field stretching deep threat, and that's what Ricky White should be. So I would definitely be pretty excited to get Ricky White. I think he would be perfectly adequate as wide receiver 3, and then we could just go forward with a offense of, if you keep DK, Ricky White, JSN, and then Harold Fannin Jr. and AJ Barner. With the running backs, that should be great. I'd be pretty excited about that. Okay, round 5, I'm going with Jonah Monheim, interior offensive lineman of USC. He's played all over the place. He's played left tackle, he's played right tackle, he's played right guard, he's played center. Mostly he's a center. I think that's where he'll end up. I don't think his arms are long enough for him to play tackle in the NFL. I think he did it at USC because of necessity, but ultimately I see him as a center. This is a guy who's going to give you some options to either sign a veteran or roll with Oluwatimi for one more year, and or allow Monheim and Oluwatimi to compete would be a better way to put that. But either way, Jonah Monheim, not somebody who I think has tremendous upside or anything like that, but he could be a good role player in this league, could push Oluwatimi a little bit. And if nothing else, you've got good depth there because he can also provide backup at guard. So he's going to be somebody who's kind of a swing offensive lineman on the interior. He can theoretically play a couple different spots, and you're going to need that because some of these depth guys that you have, well, for one, they're not very good, but you're probably going to lose them this offseason, so you need to think about replacing them. So Jonah Monheim, USC lineman, not somebody who's gotten a lot of press, but should be available in or around the 5th round in the upcoming draft. Round 6, we are going with Jamari Caldwell, nose tackle out of Oregon, one of my favorite guys. And I'm going to say this, I think that by the time we're done with the draft process, Caldwell will not be a 6th round pick. I think he's going to move up a little bit, and I think he's going to end up in at least the 5th round. But for the moment, not a lot of people know about this guy. For the moment, he is still considered to be something of a sleeper. But of the non-blue chip nose tackles, he is probably my favorite. Really like what he brings to the table. If you can't get a guy like a Kenneth Grant in the 1st round, or maybe one of the other bigger guys in the 1st or 2nd round, I would say Caldwell in round 6 or even round 5 would be the best way to get value. So that's going to be my pick there. And I think that brings the defensive line together in a way that it wasn't even last year. Another round 6 pick. Remember, these are including the compensatory picks. We have compensatory picks coming in the 4th, 5th, and 6th in theory. Went with Xavier Truss, offensive tackle out of Georgia, Bulldog. Those Georgia offensive linemen, they tend to be pretty good. They tend to pan out. They tend to go high in the draft. They tend to be talented. Can't go wrong with another Georgia offensive lineman. We need backup tackles because Stone Forsythe is probably gone. And who knows what we're going to be doing with some of these other guys. Like George Fant, you got to figure he's going to be cut. I'm going to assume that he's going to be cut. You got to figure Gerald will be back in 2025 because we like his potential, but is he going to be ready to play? Hard to know. So we're going to need to restock the reserve tackles a little bit, especially because we don't know how much we can rely on Abe Lucas yet. Final pick, round 7, I'm going with David Bailey, an edge from Stanford, guy who I thought had a pretty good season and then just kind of kept slipping down the draft boards for reasons that, I mean, I understand it, but I don't totally agree with it. I definitely think he's worth a 7th round pick. Had a nice little season on a defense that didn't have a lot of talent. And we're probably going to need a little bit of help at edge. Maybe that help is just going to be on the practice squad, but we are probably going to have a need for a 4th edge. And I don't know if David Bailey can be a 4th edge at this point, but we needed to at least make an attempt. So that is my mock draft 5.0. We get three offensive linemen, including 2 guys on the interior, tight end, wide receiver, an outside corner, a nose tackle, and an edge. I'm feeling pretty good about that positionally. But let me know what you guys think about this mock draft. We'll do another one next week, and we'll keep doing them until we get to basically the draft. And maybe some weeks we'll do more than one a week when we get close. I want to get through free agency first before we say too much here, but I think that this is still a fun exercise. Thank you to BetUS for powering this video. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.